Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. I've come out for my long run this morning. When I set off a little while ago, it was actually quite cool, but now the clouds have shifted a little bit and the sun's coming out. The temperature's gone up quite dramatically, so I've had to adapt. So I was actually wearing a couple of layers, but I've had to put one around my waist. I'm glad I brought my hat and sunglasses though. But I wanted to have a little think about how we can adapt and cope when the conditions are very warm. A particular memory that I always have was in the perhaps infamous 2018 London Marathon, where it was about 24 degrees, which I know for some people around the world it might not sound very much, but with the UK's humidity, 24 degrees is comparable to a much higher temperature as you get closer to the equator. So it was a very, very brutal one actually. And I remember there's a lot of advice being given about, forget about going for a PB in this run. Just think about the adaptations you can make, and even people being told it depends on your pace, but think about maybe aiming to go about half an hour slower typically than your intended target time. And yeah, it's a memory that stays with a lot of us who were there. It was utterly brutal, really, really difficult. So everyone was drinking a lot, which I've talked about in other videos. That can actually put you at risk of hyponatremia, which is a serious health condition which can even lead to death and has done in marathon runners. So electrolytes are definitely something to be thinking about. How can you get your electrolytes in when it's warm weather, when you're running? That's really important to maintain your salt levels and so on, your sodium serum in your blood as you're out running. So you can do that in different ways. You can obviously drink your sports drinks. You might want to take one with you because we're thinking about hydration, of course. But you can take electrolytes in tablet form or in powder form, so they're readily available wherever you look really. So you should be able to get hold of electrolytes pretty well. Obviously you're going to think about your clothing. You're not going to want to have many layers on. You don't want to overheat in that respect. As you can see, and as I've mentioned, I've got a hat and sunglasses for when I need them today. You're probably going to carry a drink with you. There are different ways you can do that. A lot of people choose hydration vests. Typically I just carry a drink if I need one, or maybe do a loop or run close to somewhere where I can stash a drink. Not going too far or even quite close to home if I need to. Another top tip is to take a buff and soak it in cold water, and then you can keep it on your wrist, or you can put it, people like to wear them on their head or around your neck, and you can use it just to keep yourself cool as and when you need. When you're out running, you might go near a water source where you can get some more cold water onto it, so a nice way to keep yourself cool. Warm weather can also present an opportunity for where you do your running, I think. I mean, I'm fortunate that I live in a very beautiful rural area, but actually for most of the year these trails are inaccessible because they're so wet. But obviously in the warmer weather, if you've had a few days with a dry spell, that can dry out, and it's an opportunity to get onto the trails, to get off road, to explore a little bit. I've done another video about how beneficial that is to mental health to be in this kind of environment as well. So you're thinking about your physical and mental health and doing things to help those at the same time. So I'd very much recommend getting outside onto the trails, getting away from the roads where you can. I made another video about how the time of day that you go out can actually have a pretty profound effect on your life and on your health in many ways. And it's something that's definitely applicable when it's warm weather or when it's hot weather. So I'd be checking the forecast. When is the weather likely to peak? Can you get up and get out before it gets too hot, it gets too warm? I'll definitely be thinking about planning ahead like that, so that you're not being hit by certainly the midday sun. You probably want to avoid that. So get your exercise in early is my recommendation. Maybe you've given yourself the right to laze in the sun a bit later in the day. It's great for wildlife spotting as well if you're getting out onto the trails. So I'm really fortunate that where I live on these boardwalks, we see quite a lot of interesting wildlife, including lots of lizards that you can catch sunbathing if you're here at the right time. So yeah, if you enjoy the outdoors and you enjoy wildlife, that's another reason to get out onto the trails. I would just say be cautious of any risks associated with that. I live in an area where there are ticks, and I have come back from runs before and I've had ticks that are found on my legs, and so you need to get a pair of tweezers and sort of kind of pull them out while rotating. They bury their heads into your skin, which is absolutely lovely. So actually, if I know I'm going off-road in an area where I'll be going through lots of overgrown vegetation, I do still wear long trousers just to negate the chance of ticks. So I just check any wildlife risks that there may be in your area and think about where you're going. It's just another little thing to be mindful of. I like to consider personal safety as well. That's really important. So depending on where you live, it could be quite remote where you're running, and there is a chance that you could overheat. You know, something could happen, you could get ill. So things that you can do, and make sure you got your phone on you first of all, so you can call someone if you need to. Also make sure someone knows where you are, so it's always worth it. Just if you've got a close person who you can just say, right, I'm going out for a run and this is where I'm planning to go. There are also apps where people can track you. You can do it with Google Maps. There's an app called Life 360. I'm not affiliated with any of these things, but they're really useful just in case someone does need to track you. So that's another really important safety tip. So I've mentioned small wildlife and things to consider, but what about large wildlife? If you're going off-road in warm weather, you could encounter some cows. Got a field full here. I won't be going through this field. I live in a rural community, and I speak to a lot of farmers and their families, and they actually advise very much to exercise caution when you're going near cows, especially if they've got young with them. They can be very, very protective, and they actually can attack. You may have seen instances in the news recently where runners have literally been trampled to death by cows. So it's definitely something to be mindful of. An interesting statistic actually is that you are 40 times, that's 40 times more likely to be killed by a cow than you are by a bull. So I'd always exercise caution with that. These cows are quite young, they're looking quite curious. I think they might come over and see me in a moment. Just eyeing me up really. But do be cautious thinking about planning your routes. Are you going to go near cows? If you do, what I'd say is don't run. That's what the local farming families say to me. They just say give them a wide berth, walk past, but also have an exit plan. If you're going through a field and they do get a little bit kind of cautious of you and start to look threatening, especially if they look like they're going to try and surround you in a group, have you got a way out? Just be mindful of, you know, is there a fence that you think you can hop over? Is there another route that you can go if you really have to? So just a little thing to be cautious of, to plan. Yeah, I can see they are coming over now. They're coming to say hello, I think. If they have young with them, don't even go near them. That's my advice. It does depend on where you are. There are some instances where you've got cows almost in the city centre, like in Newcastle, and you know they're a lot more docile, frankly, and you're probably more likely to be okay there. But it's just something to be aware of if you're going off-road, if you're going in a rural environment. Just think carefully about your route, and if you do suddenly need to find another direction to run in, something just to be mindful of. Good morning, cows. Nice to see you. Hope you're doing well. I come in peace. So you're quite young, so you're just curious, aren't you? You're just coming to say hello. Hello to you. Hello. Hope you're enjoying eating the grass this morning.